Alright, Path of Exile enjoyers, the massive, brand new big patch update just actually hit as far as the patch notes. The actual patch comes out on the 4th. But there's a bunch of stuff, and I mean a bunch. I mean, I could sit here and probably make an 2-hour video going over everything. But I kind of wanted to highlight some of the stuff that I felt like was important and kind of give you guys my thoughts. As you guys were wondering, am I going to be playing it? Absolutely. But I did want to go over some of the things that I think are more important. If you guys have maybe played some of my builds, these are the things that I'm going to be looking out for. But for starters, I got to go over some of the more interesting things that people are talking about. A lot of people are kind of complaining here. And the reason why is there are some major big nerfs coming to a lot of builds. In fact, some builds will basically be deleted because the survivability is dead, like actually dead. Like there's no, oh, it got major nerfs to the point where it maybe, no, there's like straight up dead, okay? But for starters, some people are saying if you don't want to have one button builds, why are you adding delay to the curses? And basically you can see where this is game feedback. As far as it goes, I'll be honest, with most curses or any sort of thing in terms of video games, when you like have a very specific build that you like to play, people just like to push that one button. When you add all these other steps, a lot of people just don't play things. I come from the Diablo background, and even playing tons of different action RPGs, Wolves and Torchlight, people just like that one button. They want that automatic curses. They want that aura effect to just delete stuff. They don't want to be in a situation where they have to kind of play the piano on every single enemy. The exception, though, would be maybe on bosses. I think that this could be okay when you're trying to like activate a debuff, but the thing is that you want a lot of your gameplay to feel smooth, especially when you're playing thousands of hours with these action RPGs. I think the thrill really comes from getting the loot from defeating the enemies, not like, man, I could push so many more buttons. So even though they are nerfing a lot of different things here, you may actually need to push more buttons because, well, you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z to get the same amount of DPS that you did before. Another person over here actually showed off that the Tame Beast actually costs 1% of your maximum spirit. This is going to be kind of a downside, I'll be honest, because I was really excited that we get this new companion for one of the new classes, right? We got the new class coming out, the Huntress, and she has this ability to kind of have a minion. And unfortunately, because it does reserve percentage of spirit, this may be something that you just drop, unless it's like absolutely amazing and it just does so much DPS or applies a debuff on its own. Sacrificing like half of your spirit is a big cost, so that's kind of a downside. And then some people are memeing over here saying that these are the worst nerfs of my life, the worst nerfs of your life so far, meaning that we're going to get even more nerfs because they actually secretly nerfed Ingenuity again after they already nerfed it. Because they threw out the patch notes. I made a video, I'm like, oh wait, this is not that bad at all. And then it actually got worse. But on top of that, rip the Stormweaver to an extent. I want to say, honestly, it's still probably going to be good. Can you still delete bosses in 1 second? I mean, depending on the boss and depending on how strong your character is, I think that won't be that big of a deal for the top end of players. So, like, if you're a player that you're like, dude, I've got Ingenuity, I've got all of these things that are worth several divines, I don't think it will be that big of a deal. But for some of the players kind of starting out, there will be definitely a skill gap, not only via just certain skills just being way better for starting out, because if you ever played like Eye of Winter compared to Spark, it's a night and day difference. And this person actually put up a really good post over here saying that it's essentially going to be a meta reset patch, meaning that like we're going to have a lot more new things to play with. And there are lots of new different things here, and I'm really excited about the Huntress. There's some of these newer ascendancies, obviously, because we have new class. There's 2 ascendancies, and then there's 20 brand new skills to play around with. You guys are seeing the brand new Huntress gameplay in the background, but this class seems to be kind of like a rogue slash like monk with this like, there's like a lot of combos with some of like the way that you can interact with some of the skills, and I think that is going to be very exciting. This is the thing that I'm most excited about. Even if we're getting nerfed in many different directions here, I think overall just being able to play the new class is going to be fun. And remember, we actually have new skills to play around with, meaning that we may get some new builds that emerge that are going to be even more powerful. So I don't want this video to be like all about like doom and gloom, wow, we're all getting nerfed, guys. But the reality is that's kind of what the patch notes say. But we are getting 100 new support gems. If there's any other really great support gems that can maybe offset the amount of nerfs, I think that they should just show these off, kind of at the same time. And then with the uniques, I totally get this, though. They kind of like us to discover these because even when you look at websites like PoE, TWDB, they actually data mine the game a lot earlier on, and they reveal all of the uniques that they can, but some of them straight up, they're just not revealed. So I like this idea of having items that like we don't know what could fix these builds, okay? So I'm starting off the video by telling you guys, even though I'm going to mention a lot of negative stuff here with these nerfs, just be on the lookout for some brand new items. They said that they're going to be making them more like mid to end game uniques, and I think that's a great thing because a lot of these uniques that came out in Path of Exile 2, they're like nerfed, super nerfed versions of things that we already had in Path of Exile 1. I'm hoping that we get like Impulsa very soon because that's one of my favorite things. But if you guys want to see like kind of like what's in the patch that is coming, I will also link this video down below that goes over like a bunch of the new stuff, and if you want my reaction to some of the newer things that got announced, you can check out that video. But I really want to go over kind of like my patch note summary and the things that I felt like were the most important things. So for starters, overall, there's a major nerf on Energy Shield, and there's a lot of nerfs to specifically some of the uniques that would give you like percent Energy Shield based off life, mana, whatever. There's a lot of major nerfs there. Archmage, Spark nerfs, Force of Will nerfs, like a lot of nerfs come from if you've played my Stormweaver variant, which was kind of like Eye of Winter, but there was still some lightning in there because Archmage is so dang powerful. Major nerfs over there. And then they actually nerfed a lot of the curses too, which is weird because we were just talking about like, well, you know, curses are going to have a delay now and they do less like effectiveness, right? Like, whereas like if you apply hypothermia or whatever like debuff to the enemy, you get basically like about a 30-ish% nerf. Again, these numbers kind of flex depending on what skill that you're looking at. But the one thing that I think was really bad in general for action RPGs is to nerf the player's defenses. So they just straight up deleted GRIMFEAST. This is like word for word what it said in the patch notes. I just copy and pasted these over here. But GRIMFEAST could no longer be engraved, and then existing GRIMFEAST have been disabled. We aim to rework GRIMFEAST in the coming future. So if you guys are unfamiliar, well, what is GRIMFEAST? So this is an area where if you kill an enemy, they have a little spirit that can drop, and if you pick it up, it refills your energy shield. If you ever played like Halo or Call of Duty, basically when you stop taking damage over time, you will then regenerate your shields, right? Or your HP if you're playing COD. It regenerates, and it's so dang slow in an action RPG when you're constantly just fighting stuff, right? And especially when there's like burning ground that will degen your energy shield, you have no way of consistently keeping it up. There are many builds that are all about energy shield, and they are all pretty much getting nerfed. Like, there's just so much energy shield nerfs in this update. But then on top of that, GRIMFEAST being deleted means you can no longer recover the energy shield, meaning that you're going to feel a lot squishier. I honestly thought this thing was super OP. I'm going to be real with you guys. I expected to see some sort of nerf, whether it be the percent that you get or you can't like get the overflow, like the over amount. But I was not expecting them to just say, well, I'm sorry guys, this no longer works. And the big thing that I want to stress here, as someone that likes action RPGs, is that I can understand nerfing damage, but when you nerf survivability, people really don't like getting one-shotted. It feels frustrating, and the point of any video game is to have fun. Now, I think that they don't want us to just insta-delete the bosses, and I totally get that from a design standpoint. If you make this boss have like several phases and he's got all these cool abilities and the character just goes one shot, like, because I played a lot of Diablo, and that's just kind of the nature of the game with these, you know, mythic uniques that would drop from the tormented bosses. But in PoE, I mean, there are certain bosses that, yeah, you can absolutely delete really fast to the point where you don't even have to learn the mechanics. So I can understand nerfing the damage. However, again, when you start nerfing survivability of players that already see the game as very hard, as someone that I'm totally fine with making the game harder and I'll be okay on it, but when you're farming things again and again for hundreds and thousands of hours, I think survivability is one of the most annoying and frustrating things with Path of Exile, and that is due to specifically losing out on XP when you actually die, and this kind of ties into here as well. And there's another big nerf to survivability, which I'll get into, but GRIMFEAST is deleted out of the game. So this is like a major thing that I wanted to highlight here. Now, on top of that, I wanted to mention kind of like the Ice Lightning Ranger, because that's kind of what a lot of you guys probably followed my PoE content for, as that's kind of what I usually play, whether it's like Lightning Arrow or Ice Shot. Those are like my two favorite things, obviously with like Lightning Rod as well. This is a pretty big nerf to specifically Freeze, so this, I guess, ties into any build that's using like cold skills, right? Freeze builds up about 48% slower, so player base ailment threshold is now half of maximum life, previously all of max life. So these are actually two separate things. So right here, this is a pretty big nerf. Now, can I swap in a gem to add more freeze? Sure. I felt like the game was in a really good state with Herald of Ice just like popping the entire screen with like Porcelain, that ring, right, that unique ring. I was really excited about messing around with basically some sort of ice or converting it to ice, because Herald of Ice is just so incredibly godly. I love it. But this might be another hurdle where you're going to have to either lower your damage or get such good damage that it still can actually freeze the enemies. It's just kind of another hurdle that your build may have to go over if you are playing freeze. But this is a pretty big nerf though, because obviously you want to have your Herald of Ice explosions, right? And then player base ailment threshold is now half of maximum life. So this is really, 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 really bad, because I want to say in any action RPG, players don't like to lose control over the character. If you've seen the evolution of how Diablo 4 has gone, people constantly complain, I don't want to be frozen, I don't want to be stunned, and they started nerfing a lot of these monsters that can like instantly freeze you. With Path of Exile though, because there's the punishment of like that big XP penalty, I feel like it's really annoying to be frozen. And in PoE 1, you could at least pop your flask. In PoE 2, they have like this charm system that automatically activates, which I like the automatic activation. Awesome, cool stuff indeed. However, when you don't have those charges, it's kind of annoying, especially if you're on a boss. Well, you just don't get like your charges back, and if you get frozen, it just kind of feels bad. So if they can make it at least somewhat fair, where anything that's doing an ailment would be visually something that your character can dodge, I think that that is a little bit more leeway for the players to be like, okay, you know, it's going to be easier to be frozen if you happen to get hit by something that like an on-ground effect. The problem is, though, with Path of Exile, when you add all of these mods to the map, there's just so many enemies that you literally cannot see the ground, especially if you've been playing Spark. So I think that this is overall going to be one of the biggest annoyances. They've also tried to buff charms a lot, but I just don't see people trying to invest into like a charm build where you have like all this condition stuff, because you don't give enough players lots of areas to get this. In PoE 1, we had the ability to get some of like the souls, right? We can capture them in the vessels and then just be immune to freeze, immune to stun. Those sort of things really help out the game in terms of quality of life and making your game feel better. So overall, I'll be honest, I don't like this change. There's a nerf to Herald of Ice. I'm mentioning it, it's whatever. I mean, you could probably get something that increases the radius too. As far as Lightning Rod goes, Lightning Rod now disappears after being chained 6 times at all gem levels. Previously it was 8 to 14, so that's like less than half. That's a pretty big deal. Now, to be fair though, I've shown you guys so many bosses where we delete them in literally like 1 second. Now, if it takes me instead of 1 second, 3 seconds to kill the boss, does that matter? For me, no, but I'm talking about more so for the people that takes them, maybe it takes them like 2 minutes to fight the boss. Now with this build, with this news change, instead of a 2-minute boss fight, they got like a 4 or 5-minute boss fight. So that will matter, especially when we're getting nerfed in survivability and all these other areas. We are getting like more portals technically with some of like the bosses, but you don't get like XP from the boxes or lose XP. But basically, yeah, this is a pretty big nerf over there. The Ingenuity belt actually just got another change. So I copy and pasted this. Before, it would give you 50% bonuses from, was it like up to 50% bonuses from the left ring and up to 50% bonuses from the right ring. And then the existing versions don't change. And I had one of these open over here. So this is like the old Ingenuity. I actually just locked one in and I just bought mine just because of this. So the new Ingenuity is absolutely terrible compared to what it used to do. So the new Ingenuity, sorry, I know the text is really small, but like this patch note is huge. Let me go ahead and try to zoom in a little bit for you guys. But basically what it comes down to is the Ingenuity belt no longer has the 40 to 80% increased bonuses from rings. It is now 20 to 30 on each ring. So those still have a range of a roll, but it does give you some charm slots. Now, is that a good trade-off? Hell no. This is like a joke of like, all right, well, we gave you charm slot. Maybe if it said like plus 10 charm slots, I'd be like, oh, maybe we got a charm build up over here. But that is a huge disappointment because I was really excited because with one of the new ascendancies, I believe this is the Ritualist from the brand new Huntress, you get extra ring slot, you get 25% increased bonuses. I mean, I'm going to play on my Legacy Standard one, and I'm going to be living good to see how good this thing is because this is exciting for me. But at the same time, you have like an item that is so iconic, right? Like, you know, I always look at items like, you know, the Harlequin Crest, like an OG Diablo, like for Season 0. Like, no one had this. It's like some like, crazy good item, right? Or if you go to Path of Exile, Headhunter, Mage Blood, you have these iconic things. This was like an iconic item, and you just kind of deleted it. And that feels really bad to have that item. Now, to be fair, though, I give them some, like, you know, credit. Existing versions of this item are unaffected by this change. So, hey, that's cool. I respect them. I mean, at the end of the day, this is all of our items are going to get deleted anyways from the early access. But I think that that is a kind of a slap in the face to people that did farm it. And obviously now it's gotten a lot cheaper. But next up, though, the Hand of Wisdom, Hawa. All right, those gloves that give you crazy lightning damage and crazy attack speed. These are getting some major nerfs as well. This is one of the best items in the game, by the way. But anyways, it added 1 to 10 lightning damage per 20 int. Is the new stats. Basically, it got cut in half. It was previously 10, so basically 50% less damage on that. Then on top of that, you get 1/3 of the stats that you used to with the attack speed. So it would provide 1% increased attack speed per 20 dexterity. Previously was 3%. So basically, you lose 2/3 of the stat, and it's now per 25. So it's actually worse than losing 2/3 of it because it requires 25. Well, actually, hold on. No, you know what? Wait, no, that's backwards. So it's, okay, so it's not actually 2/3, it's a little bit less than 2/3, now that I'm reading it correct. All right, so, yeah, so you need 25 dex for 3% before, but now it's been lowered, okay, so you only need 20, but you get 1%. It's still a pretty big nerf, though. That is still massive. It's over half of it. But anyways, if you use a Divine Orb, you can obtain the remaining value changes. But it says this does not affect existing items, so another, okay, cool. I'm just going to play Legacy now. All right, anyways, next up, Stormweaver. So the Force of Will Ascendancy passive provides 1% increased effective Arcane Surge on you per 25 maximum mana, previously 15. So again, some big nerfs over there with anyone that would just stack as much mana as possible. And then the Strike Twice Ascendancy Notable, which was like, I believe, where you get to have like the double shock effect, right? That's pretty cool. It'll give you less shock duration, but like, it doesn't matter, right? Now you have, you don't have this anymore, so that's kind of a buff, but like, dude, it doesn't matter. You now have 25% less magnitude of shock, so you have to get more damage in other areas. I mean, to be fair, it was crazy amounts of damage. And then Spark, the skill that everyone and their grandma was using. This skill was really cool. It says 49 projectiles at 1 to 20, and before it was 6 to 14. So it is definitely nerfed over here, and it no longer has increased projectile speed, but quality gives you increased, quality now provides increased projectiles. So even though you're getting nerfed here, you do have a buff over here. Now overall it is still a nerf, but you still never can get the speed. So basically it's going to feel a lot slower, but at the end of the day, if you're throwing out so many of these on the boss fight, it won't really matter. So this is kind of like where I want to go ahead and sum up kind of like my thoughts. I still feel like we need some sort of defenses, especially since you nerf ES so hard. I think armor is still like a thing here where I want to mention, like, armor is not in the greatest of spots in PoE 2. And also I want to mention, yeah, being frozen is not fun. I don't think anyone's like, yeah, dude, I can't wait to get frozen in my action RPG so I can just die, lose XP, and lose out on my map. Like, I just don't think that this is a good idea. And this comes down to specifically like the ailment. You're going to be getting burned a lot more, so you're going to start degenning out a lot more, stun, frozen, like all these ailments basically, okay? Now, obviously, you're playing a ranged build, that's okay, but I feel like melee in general and a lot of action RPGs has always kind of been like, whatever, deal with it, right? It's a lot harder to play a lot of those builds, especially with like Leech also. That's kind of a big deal in PoE 2 compared to PoE 1. PoE 1's like super friendly, you just get some like mana, like percent attack damage Leech, you're good to go, but on PoE 2, it's a lot harder to get like mana sustain, so it's kind of something that also I want to say like, I can say like mana slash HP sustain could be a lot better in general compared to PoE 1 after playing Thracia League. But then also, I want to mention, again, giving you guys some light at the end of this dark tunnel here, that we are getting 100 more support gems and 100 new uniques. And this could maybe fix all the problems. Maybe we're going to get some super brand new unique that is some chase item that's going to make this item over here, Ingenuity, look like a joke anyways. But at the end of the day, those are kind of like the thoughts that I personally have in terms of like one of my thoughts on this newest patch, and I want to go over the things that I felt like was the most important. Obviously, if you're playing maybe a minion build, you may want to try to check out the patch notes, and I'll link it down below for you guys in case you want to check it out, or just go to the Path of Exile website. It's like the #1 thing on there right now. But there are a ton of other changes here, and I don't want to make like a 2-hour video. And there's a lot of bug fixes. They changed up a bunch of uniques, but I'd rather wait to see all of the uniques before like getting excited about some other unique that technically sucks, because there's another unique that outclasses it and it's like 1 Chaos Orb, right? So we'll have to wait and see with these uniques. And also, I will also drop a video going over, because I had a couple people ask me, and I'm going to kind of answer it in this video slightly, is that what is the new Ascendancy, are we going to go Ritualist or are we going to go the Amazon route? I may actually end up trying out both, as long as we can respec, because I think that that was supposed to be a thing that was going to come. You can see that there's like these defensive like charm slots, but I'm really interested in this extra ring slot, and this like basically I can get like all the effects, and you get 25% bonus on amulets too, which is really awesome. Can't wait to see how good this is going to be, and with the legacy ingenuity over here. But I'm curious to see also these blood. This one didn't really look that good, but a lot of these other like defensive nodes, I felt like they were kind of weak. There's also a thing with the Ritualist where you can basically kind of have like a headhunter effect, where you can like absorb. You can sacrifice your. You could use this skill called Sacrifice. Where is it? Over here. You gain this thing called Ritual Sacrifice. Think of it kind of like you're getting a headhunter. I wish it would just be an aura, like just let us have it, or I don't know, because the way it works right now, you have to go to it and it has to like actually activate. You gotta wait for the animation. It just takes too long. I just think that, again, people want their action RPGs to feel smooth and fast. And then you can activate it on yourself. But the only problem that I have with this is like when you're on the boss, because you can only activate one of these. You lose 20% of your maximum life, by the way, to get this. And then a maximum of only one modifier can be granted this way. But the other way, you can keep on getting that like Ritual Sacrifice. My guess is people are going to try out the class. They're going to be like, this animation sucks, make it faster. And then maybe GGG will increase the speed, or I just want it to automatically activate. I don't want to kill an elite, walk up to it, and have to like select the corpse, and then maybe activate the skill. I think it would be much better if either they had like all the abilities that it would gain, not just random skill, that you could select from the monsters that you kill, and it would persist. That way you can kind of change it up. You can select the one that you want. That would be kind of cool. But the ritual on yourself, this could be interesting. Just a way to remove your HP. I don't know if it has a cooldown or what, but it'll be interesting to see if someone creates some kind of interesting thing with this. Maybe some sort of like low life or some other way to like, when you lose this amount of HP, you do X, Y, and Z. I don't know if there's, I don't think this is like damage taken, so I don't know if you can do cast one damage taken. That even exists in PoE 2 in the future, maybe. But nonetheless, still excited about it overall. But again, with the amount of like nerfs that are coming on, I just want to say that I feel your guys' pain, but, you know, at the end of the day, more than likely, people will be okay. But I just think that as far as deleting GRIMFEAST, this was just like a major just disappointment, because there's so many builds that rely on this. Even one of my builds at one point, it relied on this because it is so dang good, because with Energy Shield, there's no good ways to just recover it. So you're just kind of stuck there. So I don't know if their gameplay philosophy is like, we want you to go out there, fight a bunch of monsters, then sit in a corner, wait for your shields to regen, and then go back in. And especially with things like burning ground that are just annoying, or degens on the ground, I just don't like that. So overall, I would say we're going to be okay, with the exception of GRIMFEAST. There is no okay, we can work around it. You're out of luck, man. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the news update and what I felt like was important, which really only covered the stuff that I played. But again, check out the patch notes, read them for yourself. And if there's anything else that I missed out on that you guys felt like was really important, let me know down below. That covers either my build or just other builds in general. But like specifically GRIMFEAST is probably the biggest L overall from this patch. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here and want to see the gameplay, I mean, it's going to be out in 2 days. We'll be locked in playing it for sure. Anyways, take care, and I'll catch you exiles in the next video. Peace out.